Okay, here we go. So we've done all the 7 key principles, we've done an introduction, we've done an overview, we've got to the end of the 7 keys. Now what? So a lot of people are saying, how do we apply it to our daily lives? Well, before we go and ask how, I'd like to ask you to join with me in this video and let's look at why. Why are we even using the 7 keys? I think it's important to put some context around why we place so much emphasis on these 7 key principles and why. What's that about? Let me explain. So the first point I have up here is, what does it mean? What does it even mean to have authentic communication? What does that even mean? Well, in the past, governed by the ego mind, the doer, the human element in the world, it's a control mechanism. It's a manipulating control mechanism. And all its defaults through communication has always been to manipulate in order to get, to manipulate in order to achieve, manipulate in order to get recognition, to get kudos, to get, better job, to win debates at school and universities and blah, 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 all to prove that you're better, that you're worth more of a mention, your pay packet and your salary is higher than the next one. It's just like, and what I mean by next one is the next person is to keep climbing up and up and up and up. It's just to constantly prove and go and get and succeed and bring in. And so that whole control manipulating thing is for better relationships, better house, better mortgage, better friendships, better clothing, better cars, better. The whole thing is about manipulating. It's a constant addiction to excitement, to fulfillment, to, I've had the best day and tomorrow's going to be even better, and it's like rah, 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 rah. So why do we want to have authentic communication? Authentic communication is to undo the seeker, the go-doer. It's to undo it. Because there's no authentic communication while you're seeking, while you're manipulating. None. There's no authentic communication from one to another, from you to your brother, your partner, your friends, relatives, while we're seeking to get. So this is about unlearning the doer in all of us to come back to a place of surrender. So what does that even mean? Authentic communication means for us to become transparent, open, vulnerable, sincere. It's the Christ mind that comes forward to do the doing, not the ego mind that goes out to manipulate, to get, to fulfill, to continue to search for excitement and stuff. It's the Christ mind that relinquishes control and holds back and gets to a place of feeling. So when you have communication exchange with another, and both of you are coming from that authenticity, it's a feeling thing. It's an uplifting, liberating conversation. So the means of authentic communication is the 7 key principle, is the use of them, is the integration of them in our language, in our intent, in our setting the goal. We can't communicate authentically without the 7 key principles. Full stop, end of story, exclamation mark, it's done. The only way we can communicate authentically is via these 7 key principles to authentic relating. So when we say, don't worry about how, let's just put some context to why. Well, we need to get to a place of knowing why we're doing it. So it's not just up here all in the head that we go out and we know all about it. It's to understand why we do it. Let me just give you a couple of reflections on the why thing. So let's look at all the opposites to the 7 keys, which is, prior to arriving at this point, the introduction, the overview on the 7 key principles, all in individual videos, is to have a look at how we did it in the past. How do we communicate in the past? Well, we did it. Let's reflect on the 7 key principles, but in the past. So the 7 key principles in the past was with willingness. Yeah, I had willingness, but there was limited willingness, and it was conditional. So it was only, in other words, it was only when it suited you, the ego mind, to be willing, and it was, and even then on the barometer, it was only, up so far. So that's not authentic. That's conditional. That's a limited, conditional, controlling, manipulative way to communicate. Limited accountability, controlling, conditional. It's a limited condition, a limited accountability. Can you see where I'm going with this? So in the past, yeah, we had all the 7 keys running somewhere in our thread, but all of it was manipulative, controlling, limited. So go down through them and you just check in on this yourself. Defenseless, were you defenseless? Yeah, but somewhat limited, because you did push back, you did have arguments, you were defensive, you did justify, you did substantiate, you did control. So again, it was a conditional defenselessness. How about vulnerability? I got here very limited and conditional vulnerability. And I did it when I felt like it. You've got to laugh, eh? Seriously, it's like, duh. So we've got all these, and then how about honesty? Okay, well, honesty, well, it wasn't radical, but it was limited, and I only had, only to a set level of expectation of what others required from me. I'd just tell them just enough on a need-to-know basis. You heard of that one, right? And where was the truth and all that? Well, very limited. So I got very limited. Radical honesty. What about trust? Trust, yeah, trust. I had trust, but as long as I was in control of it, I had trust. The ego mind was controlling trust. Ego mind wouldn't have a bloody clue what trust meant. It's a total control freak. The ego mind is a control freak. What about the ego mind when it comes to gratitude? Yeah, but only when it suited me. So I just gave it out where I thought it was required in order for me to get what I wanted to get. So can you see that all of this, based on the past, had very limited, very, very limited amount of authentic relating, like this much. So why do we do it? That's why we do it, because we want to blow the lid off this. We don't want it to be limited and controlling and only when it suited me and on a need-to-know basis. And as long as I could keep getting what I wanted, who cared? So that's the how. That's the why. Let's talk about the how. How do you do authentic communication? What part of us, the Christ mind, needs to come forward and do the how? I just want to pause here for a minute, because there's 2 minds at play, and we know this. There's the ego mind and the Christ mind. So we need to come back and take accountability for which one is the one doing it. Is it the ego mind or the Christ mind? And check in. And I have a little stick-it note here, and I just love it. I love it. Jesus says, he says in the course, Permit no idle thought go unchallenged. Permit no idle thought go unchallenged. Why do you think he says that? I know. Because of this. Because of the ego mind, the Christ mind. He wants us to check in at the gate. Be the gatekeeper all day, every day, 24/7. Permit no idle thought go unchallenged. So, how do we set up authentic communication? Start with that. Start with allow no idle thought go unchallenged. Idle thought, not meaningful thought, not sincere, heartfelt thoughts. Idle thoughts. He's talking about ego thoughts. So how and where do we start? Guys, you've got to challenge, you've got to be the gatekeeper, you've got to challenge the idle thoughts right at the gate. So if it's a fear-based thought that's coming from you and you're nervous about doing something, stop. Challenge that. How do we do that? Look here. Align our intentions. Align our intentions. Remember in a couple of videos ago, I was reading now the course around defenselessness. I'm sorry. Honesty. You can't have one conflicting thought with what you think, you say, or you do. Because you're either coming from the ego mind or you're coming from the Christ mind. So it can't conflict. You can't be in both. You can't have Christ mind and ego mind at the same time coming out to, do its screenplay. It's impossible. So that's why I say here, align our intentions. Come into alignment. Be presently lucid to where you're at. Engage the Christ mind, not the ego mind. That's what that means. Next one, set the goal in advance. Where are you going with it? What's it for? What's the purpose? Who's doing it? Set the goal in advance. In other words, have the conversation, just role play a little bit in your mind, set a series of bullet points of what you want to try, where do you want to start, what do you want to cover off, and where do you want to go? What do you want the end result to look like? At the highest level from the Christ mind, not the ego mind to manipulate. Be careful, there's a fine line. Be present with who's the one doing the doing. Set your goal in advance from the Christ mind, from the holy self. Be mindfully present through this whole process, guys, and you can't fail. It'll be fine. Trust it. Just keep going. Just go with it. And here I've got, and we've covered that off, check. Is it the ego mind doing it, or is it the Christ mind doing it? Be super lucidly present to capturing every thought that passes through your mind. I've got this one here, which is, it's a big one for me, and it meant a lot when it dropped in a couple of months ago. Origin of thought. Origin of thought. Is it the ego mind I'm engaging, or is it the Christ mind I'm engaging? I have free will. God gave us all free will. We choose any now and one moment where we want to, who we want to be, where we want to come from, and what we want the desired outcome to be. Ego mind, Christ mind. Ego mind, Christ mind. Origin of thought. Bring it back. Bring it back and own that space. In your heart, join your mind with your heart, with your fellow brother, sister, whoever you're communicating with. Clarify purpose. Be clear on your purpose. Be clear on your directive. Be clear of the mind you're engaging. Be clear of the outcome. Be clear of your function. Your function is to be the eternal, authentic communicator. The purpose is to deliver the Christ mind, your Christ mind, and join with the Christ mind in another. That's your purpose. Clarify that. Be absolutely succinct and in line with what that's for. And you can't screw it up. Ego will want to come in here and manipulate, and yeah, but what about this, and what about that, and it's conditional, and it's limited, and I need to think it through, and it's not now, and I'll try it again tomorrow. No, that's ego mind, monkey mind chatter, trying to hijack it and get you down the rabbit hole of self-doubt and self-sabotage. Say no. Okay, all right, it's a good one. Where did we fall short before starting this whole entire process in our communication? Where were the shortfalls? Just go back and revisit that in your mind. Was it, I'm okay to go so far, and then honesty is a bit of an issue, vulnerability is another issue, oh shit, it's contentious, I'm not happy to bare my soul, everybody will take advantage, everybody will think I'm weak. If I show up radically honest, I'll lose all my friends, so I only took it so far on a need-to-know basis, always in reservation of totality, all complete, 100%, everything. Where did it fall short in the past? It's not that we want to relive the past, it's just a wonderful checkpoint for you to go back and put some context to why and how we're doing all this. What's the purpose? Are we aware of our blind spots? What's a blind spot? What? Are we aware of our blind spots? Next one. How to even realise what blind spots are. Well, that's all the way through communication in the 7 keys. Keep checking in with your partner. How do you think I'm going? Do you feel my intention? Do you feel my purpose? Am I clear on where I'm taking this? Give me some feedback. I'm asking for help. That's how you find out where your blind spots are. You don't find out from looking within. Blind spot is within. Ego wants you to hijack that and not show you. Only way you'll find blind spots is to seek help from your brother, your sister, your buddy, to mirror back to you using the 7 keys where they think you're blocked, where they think you're holding back, where they think you're not going all the way. That's how you find blind spots. And you need to be aware of your blind spots, because otherwise you can't be an effective communicator. Remember, ego has built blind spots, roadblocks, barriers, so you'll never get to see where they are because it holds you in specialness. This is to bring you out into holiness. Authentic communicator is holiness. Holiness within, connection to the absolute Christ mind of what you are. To get you out of that hijack down the rabbit hole perspective on the past in specialness. Blind spots hold you in the past. So it's a wonderful tool to unravel that a bit and unpack it for yourself. What about this last one? How willing and open are you to go through a deconstruction process to unlearn all the barriers and all the blocks and all the blind spots? The false self, how to deconstruct the false self. Unlearn all of that in order to come forward and be the absolute totality of love without opposite, beyond this human realm. How willing are you to go through a deconstruction process, undoing the ego? How willing? Not 1 to 10. Where are you on the barometer of that? Because you'll never be an authentic communicator while there's still an ego construction process going on in the background where it keeps building barriers around you. And you're giving it permission to do it. I know it sounds a bit, but it is. Honestly, guys, we've got to take accountability. We gave the ego permission to do that. And we bought into it. And we injected emotion. And we believe it's true and real. So, are we okay to go through a deconstruction process in order to be this amazing, authentic communicator? Question. So, limited accountability, willingness, defenseless, conditional, everything here is great reflection of why we do these 7 key principles. Why are we even thinking about going into this space? It's to deconstruct all the limited manipulative ways that we communicated. And did we show up at 100%? No. Not when you go through all these 7 videos, the intro, the overview, all the 7 videos, and then we get to the end and we go, well, in alignment with this, how and why, all of a sudden you start to see, holy crap, maybe I gave it this much instead of universal quantities. I was petrified to go all the way. Well, the ego mind is. It wants to be manipulative and hold everything here around the back and hijack it and don't let you see this and hide away from this and don't bring that up and don't let them see this. It's constantly doing that the whole time. And the monkey mind is chattering in conversations over the top of each other and my story's better than yours and blah, 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 blah. Where's the authenticity in that communication? Zero. Nothing real is hitting God's radar. So, why and how? That's why. That's how and that's why. Guys, I can't say anymore. It's like, I'll leave the rest with you. And so the very next video is going to be on how we engage in daily conversations utilising the 7 key principles. That's an exciting one. Thank you. See you on the next one.